10 mysterious ancient technology science just can't explain. Number 10. The Wedge of Aoud. The aluminum wedge of Aoud is either a mysterious piece of early technology that doesn't make any sense to anyone, or something left behind by aliens. It's definitely controversial ever since it was discovered in 1973 in Romania on the muddy bank of the Mers River. Some reports claim that the object was discovered under a pile of sand, alongside a collection of mastodon bones. What makes this object so curious is the simple fact that it's crafted from aluminum and was found near fossils that date back around 10,000 years. As you might already know, humans didn't make aluminum until the 1800s, and so the object is quite the anomaly. And while you might be thinking that somebody could have just dropped the artifact in the sand by accident and it got buried, other reports have claimed that it has a thick layer of oxide on it that dates back 400 years. Even the Archaeological Institute of Cluj-Napoca allegedly confirmed the artifact's age. However, there is no current information on what techniques they used to date the artifact. Additionally, there is no information on what the artifact could have been used for. It looks like a simple wedge. 9. Greek fire. Greek fire was the medieval equivalent to the flamethrower. It was an incendiary weapon first utilized in warfare back in 678 AD. 8. Damascus steel. Damascus steel is the most legendary type of metal ever crafted by human hands. It is still recognizable today by the distinct wavy light and dark patterns seen on its surface. Damascus steel is beautiful, and it was highly valued hundreds of years ago because of its extremely sharp edge, its rigid strength, and its shocking flexibility. Any weapon crafted out of Damascus steel was seen as far superior to all else. And despite all the technology we have today, scientists still have been unable to replicate or surpass the sheer quality of ancient Damascus steel. This is something scientists simply can't do. They can get to the moon, and they can build a nuclear bomb, but they can't create a sword better than a Damascus steel sword. 7. The Antikythera mechanism. The Antikythera mechanism is often hailed as the world's first ever computer, but despite all the praise this thing gets, scientists don't really know what it is, what it was used for, or where it even came from. The best that anyone can come up with is that the device replicated the motions of the heavens. By just holding this mechanism in your hands, you could track the route taken by the sun, the moon, and the planets in the solar system with startling accuracy. That's why this is often referred to as an ancient Greek computer. In 2006, Mike Edmonds from the Cardiff University in Wales used CT scans to reveal that the mechanism has tiny inner workings and hidden inscriptions that nobody had ever seen before, sparking new controversy and a new wave of scholarly research that, to this day, has left scientists scratching their heads, wondering how exactly the mechanism worked as the first computer in the world. 6. The Iron Ashoka Pillar of Delhi. The Iron Ashoka Pillar of Delhi, located of course in New Delhi, India, seems to be rust-proof. It doesn't look like much from the outside. The iron pillar is only about 22 feet. It's sitting in an empty square, and there's really not much to look at unless you know what you're looking for. This pillar is actually 1,600 years old and made almost entirely of iron. If you know anything about iron sitting out in the sun for 600 years, you should know that this strange pillar should have become a pile of dust many years ago. 5. The Baghdad Battery. The Baghdad Battery is about 2,000 years old, coming from the ancient Parthian period, which lasted from between 250 BC to 250 AD. The exact science behind the Baghdad Battery is simple enough. It was a jar made out of clay with a stopper of asphalt and an iron rod stuck through a copper cylinder. When the jar was filled with vinegar or another type of electrolytic solution, it turned into a literal battery, able to produce roughly 1 volt. But while the science behind the ancient battery is easily explainable, its existence is not. What's really crazy is that the Baghdad battery was invented significantly earlier than any other battery was, and so far as we know, there have been no written records discovered that detail the functions of the jar. Number 4. The Ulfbert Sword. The Ulfbert Sword is one of the most mysterious weapons ever discovered. This fascinating blade was crafted by the Vikings about 1,000 years ago, and there have been about 170 of them found so far by archaeologists. But what's really shocking and unbelievable about these Viking weapons is that they were forged using technology that wasn't available for another 800 years after the Viking era had already ended. Scientists to this day have no idea what the secret to the legendary Ulfberht sword is. In order to forge this kind of weapon, researchers have said that the Vikings would have needed a forge that could heat up to 3,000 degrees, which was not possible in human society until the Industrial Revolution of the 1800s and 1900s. 3. Zhang Heng's seismoscope. Zhang Heng worked as a Chinese scientist and expert mathematician back in the Han Dynasty. During his life, he crafted one of the most advanced pieces of scientific technology in the ancient Chinese world. This guy managed to put together a seismoscope to detect earthquakes, way before we had the Richter scale. He invented the first seismoscope back in 132 AD. His machine was so sensitive that he could indicate the exact direction an earthquake was coming from at least 100 miles away. And what makes this achievement even greater is that back in those days, even the inventor of the seismoscope himself believed that earthquakes had nothing to do with the earth itself and were actually caused by wind and air movements. 2. Roman concrete. Roman concrete outlasts modern concrete by thousands of years. We use modern concrete to build everything in our society, and yet our modern concrete is known to start breaking down after as few as 50 years. On the flip side, even 1,000 years after the Roman Empire disintegrated, their concrete structures have not. 1. The wrinkled stone. The wrinkled stone may look like a piece of advanced technology, in which a stone was folded in such a way to fit into another piece of stone, just like a jigsaw puzzle. But it's not. The scary truth about this wrinkled stone is that it's actually modern, and was crafted by a Spanish sculptor named José Manuel Castro López, who has been experimenting with hand sculptures carved skillfully from granite and quartz. He makes ordinary stone appear as though it's wrinkled, soft, and squishy. Jose even says that he thinks of himself more as a druid than a sculptor, trying to connect with each and every stone that he molds to breathe his own life into it. But here's why this is so fascinating. Kos has mastered the art of making stones look otherworldly, and he has done this simply by sculpting them. Be sure to subscribe for even more incredible videos every week.